We are the Talking Hats, Dale and Harish and Dale, HD. Glad to have you with us for this action-packed, information-filled show. But yeah, next up, we've got the NFL OT rule. What do you think?
I think it's a great decision. It should have been made a while ago. I mean, because if you look at it, it gives you an unfair advantage. If you score first, you're done, and then the other team's like, we didn't even get the ball. Like, how can we even like?
First.
Yeah, touchdown first. I mean, it needs to change because it's a proven thing. Like, if you're going to change these things, you have to look at competition. How are you going to drive competition? How are you going to get viewership? How are you going to get all these other things? And if it's a one and done thing, it's almost like you're not respecting the other team can do it. And yes, people can have their opinions and saying, well, your feelings can't, dictate rules. But if you're not in that position, it's really difficult to kind of comment on something, because back in the old days, like football, you knew if you scored, you won. So everybody was in the even playing field. And when they start tweaking the rules, you don't know what the outcomes are. Now they're saying, okay, this is not fair. It's not an even playing field now. Now, if the other team doesn't get the ball and score, they don't win. That's fair. So it's almost like they're catering to how to make it an even playing field. So Marcus Spears, I have to disagree with you on that, is because emotions do play a factor in it. But if you're not on the receiving end of that loss, like the Buffalo Bills, it's very difficult to comment on something like that. Because if I was the Buffalo Bills, like, why can't we get the ball? We have Josh Allen, we shouldn't have been in that position, but we needed another chance to score. And if I was on that team, I'd be like, why can't we get the ball back and we can prove? And if you stop us, perfectly fine. We lost it. That's on us. But you don't get that opportunity. So I'm static. I'm stoked about that for the playoffs only. I'm very stoked about the playoffs only, because I don't think the regular season. I think it's the same OT rules. First touchdown wins. I think they change it in the playoffs. So. And that's gonna, and I think, and that mindset has to kind of like, and I think the team owners and the GM needs to communicate that with the players, like, hey guys, like, this is only for playoffs, not for the regular season.
No, that is the rule, and I love it too, and I love the way it's implemented with it only being a playoff rule. The rule is each team is guaranteed a possession. If the game remains tied, then it goes to sudden death. So how that factors into play is, if the first team scores a touchdown, the second team gets the ball, and then they also score a touchdown, they've got a decision to make there as to whether or not they want to kick an extra point or go for two. They can go for two and end the game right there. It's highly risky, but it's one play for everything, as opposed to giving the other team the ball back and having to rely on the defense to get a stop. So you've got that gamesmanship coming into play too. So that'll be fun to watch, to see how that all plays out. And what this all came down to was the NFL looked at the stats on it. And the new rule, it still remained about 50-50 in the regular season. If you score first, whether or not you won the game with the field goal, it was still about 50-50. And the playoffs is where it came down to, I think the record was 10-2. The team that got the ball first won the game 10 out of 12 times. So that's why they felt the need to change it in the playoffs. And the reason that happens is because in the playoffs, you've got better quarterbacks. So it's harder for a defense to get a stop on those great quarterbacks. And that's why the league felt it was unfair. The stats kind of bore that out. And that's why right now the rule changes only for the playoffs. If things start to, shift in that direction in the regular season, I can see them making this move there too. There's going to be a delay on that up front, because they don't want to extend regular season games. That falls under the health and safety considerations for the players. So they don't want to get any reason to extend regular season games. And I'm all for it. I don't want to see longer regular season games. I'd be for a sudden death in the regular season. Get a stop.
Yeah.
If you don't, or be good enough that you don't let it go to overtime. So, those are things in regular season. Yeah. I don't want that change ever in the regular season, but playoffs, I think it makes sense. And from an entertainment aspect, you want to see Josh Allen get the ball back there in that playoff game. So I love it for that. I love the rule change and the way they did it and how it's implemented, playoffs only. Yeah.
That, man. And you want to go into lovely Alex Smith's comment on the Rich Eisen show?
Yeah. You mind if I get us started off there?
You go for it. Go for it.
So, I saw his comments. what he said is not breaking news. I mean, everybody knows that the Washington Commanders organization is a disaster. He didn't say anything that anybody didn't know, no insider information or anything like that. But to me, if he really cared about the dysfunction there, he could have spoken out while he was playing, especially towards the end when they knew that they didn't want him on the roster anymore. They didn't want him. He felt that they made it clear to him that they didn't want him. At the end, when he was starting, it was only out because he was the last guy standing and barely standing. So he could have spoken up then about the dysfunction and maybe even made a change because he was still there. He could have done something about it, being a guy still involved with the organization. Now, being on the outside talking trash, to me, it just looks like sour grapes. A guy who, was shown the door because he couldn't do it anymore, and now he's bitter, and now he's out there talking trash about the team. That hurts his credibility in some aspect, because he could have said these things while he was there, especially because he was on the outs while he was there. Being a player involved with the team, you don't want to be somebody talking trash about the team, but he was already on the outs. He knew it, and everybody else knew it. So he could have let this stuff out there then, and like I said, been a harbinger for change while he was there. I don't want to hear this stuff from guys who aren't there anymore. It's not, like I said, it's not breaking news. So whatever. He and another reason why he's doing this, he's trying to get into some media because he can't do anything else. Nobody, I don't think, has reached to him about coaching. So he wants to do something. So the way Ryan Clark got involved in the media, he started talking trash about the Steelers and all that. He's still doing that stuff now, and he's in the media. Alex Smith, he's not talking trash about anybody else. He's not talking trash about the Niners or Chiefs. He could talk trash about the Niners. They didn't handle him well, but he's only talking about the Commanders. He wants to be in the media, and that's what this is really all about. So leave my team alone.
Very well said, because I was on the cusp of this, right? I was like, why did it take you this long to say something, right? Like you could have said it like 6 months ago. You could have said it a year ago. We all know that team is very dysfunctional. You're not saying anything new to us.
And that's not a scorching hot take.
No.
That's an accepted fact.
Yes. And he was like, would Carson Wentz did it affect your play? He's like, yes. So I'm thinking to myself, so let's say you work for an organization, everything is bad, but you have to, as a superior athlete, you should be able to block that out. You should be able to block that out and play your game. Is it a distraction? Of course. But you knew coming into the Washington team that
anybody who comes there knows what the deal is. You know what you're getting into.
So to me, I think Carson Wentz, like, warning him about this dysfunction, I don't think Carson Wentz cares, because Carson Wentz is himself as a distraction. So
yeah. Right.
So, I mean, I may be in the minority, or not in the minority, but I feel that with Carson Wentz, he knows what to focus his stuff on, because this is his proving year to prove to the people and all of his critics that he can still be a top 10 quarterback in the league. Others are saying he can be top 5. No. He's not there. Top 10, maybe, but he has to prove to his critics that he can come to a dysfunctional organization and win in a dysfunctional organization. The hot take is that Snyder is getting pressure from Congress because of his dealings. There's like reports going around about his financial stuff. Fine.
2 sets of books.
Right.
See, he has shown himself to be kind of untouchable, but if it's true that he was keeping 2 sets of books, that is something that you don't recover from. Okay, because that's screwing around with your taxes. And NFL teams, they get all sorts of breaks on that too. But what that's really screwing is the players and the collective bargaining agreement and all that, because they have to present their books, and then they get to take a haircut of $1 billion off the top of their books, and then the rest is split, whatever that percentage is. So if he's putting out 2 sets of books, he's really screwing guys around. And then that's something that he would be voted out for. We're just looking to grow. And like I said, we'll help you grow. Support us. We'll support you. Like, subscribe. Harish, you got any last words for us?
Brother, peace and love. That's all we have. That's all we.
Peace
That's
and
all
love,
we
peace
own.
and love. Like, subscribe, support, follow. Thank you very much for the Talking Hats. We're out for this week. See you next week.
Peace.
Peace out.